So let's talk about the reinvention of the media agency. I'm an ex-agency girl myself. I've seen it from the inside, I've seen it from the outside. You've been in the agency world for a long time, lots and lots of change. So what, in your view, is the role of the agency today and tomorrow? And do you feel like that looks different than it used to look?
We are absolutely going through a fundamental shift. I think we are in a point of inflection. I think we're in a point of disruption. Those are words that are now commonplace, in talking to clients and clients talking to the industry. And I think we'll continue to be in that point of disruption at least for the next 5, potentially 10 years. I think the role of the media agency is fundamentally changing as well. If you go back to the late 1990s when media was sort of torn out of the full service agency, it was really about aggregating media spend so that you could actually leverage that media spend in the marketplace and provide a benefit to clients, which was lower rates. And so it was really about scale, it was about size, it was really about providing better value through your ability to buy better and to buy cheaper. I think we are now with the sort of the mergers and the acquisitions and the coming together of multiple agencies over time, we now have a handful of very large conglomerate media companies in the world, media agencies. And everyone sort of is able to come to the table with enough scale to really matter. And when you get into big media reviews now, pricing, for the most part, doesn't become the key differentiator in those decisions. And now what I'm seeing is that where agencies are going and where clients are going is it really is about data. And so where it used to be about the differentiation and the benefit was about scale and clout to buy media at a more advantageous rate, what I'm now seeing is that the ability to be clever and smart and to leverage data in a way that brings value, less about extracting costs, but more about creating better performance is where we're going. And that fundamentally changes the role of a media agency because it's less about what do you want me to do and I will then procure that at a better rate. Right. It's more about now having a very strong point of view about where that client needs to go and much more of a consultative point of view with that client.
How much does clout still matter, though?
It absolutely matters. There are table stakes. You have to be able to get to the table. And if you're in these major media reviews, these major global media reviews, absolutely price it matters. I always say there's 3 things that it comes down to. It comes down to the talent. So do they buy the people? Do they like the people? Chemistry is really important. We're in a service business. The second thing is, are they buying how clever, how smart, the tools, the capabilities that we can bring? Are we enabling competitive advantage? And the third thing are the commercials. Are we actually delivering value to them in a way that actually is going to help them with their commercials and their business?
So, in your view, what are the agencies of today getting right, and what are they getting wrong?
I think what they're getting wrong is what they're working on for the most part, which is removing the silos. I think that media and marketing has gotten so complex. There are so many different component parts that we now require deep specialization. And to be a generalist, and media agencies, when a client comes to a large media agency like a Carat, they are looking for full capabilities of every single media specialization that is there. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have deep specialization in every single part of that marketing continuum. But our holding companies have large specializations. And so I think what clients are looking for more and more is the ability to seamlessly tap into those deep specializations when they need them to be able to help them, whether that's in CRM, whether that's in data strategy, whether that's in programmatic, whether that's in video procurement. And I think what more and more they're looking for is someone to lead them from a holistic strategic point of view, but be able to know how to navigate their network in order to tap into those specializations. So I think that where there's been some challenges in the past is the ability to either have deep specializations or to be able to bridge those silos if they aren't within in the agency. And so some agencies, I think, are getting that better than other agencies. But I do see that more and more agency groups are moving in that direction to help solve that challenge.
Why are some better than others? Is it cultural? Is it leadership? You know, why does one lead and one lag?
I think one is culture, one is fundamentally business strategy and the way that they're structured and set up. So from my standpoint, I can speak from Density Aegis Network. We have one P&L. So Carat, you know, I spent 3 years in the global president role running Carat on a global basis. I had no P&L responsibilities for Carat on a global basis. P&L sits with the Density Aegis Network CEO in the region. So all of, whether it's McGarry Bowen or whether that's 360i or whether that's Carat, I prospect, it all reports up into one P&L. So if it's a media review, Carat is leading that media review, but we've got the full capabilities to tap into any specialization that we need. And I think that's what clients have been looking for. They've been looking for that for at least the last 5 years. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've been successful is because, you know, I'm compensated not because of just how Carat does, but how the group does.
That's interesting. Huh, that's interesting. Are you winning on that?
I think that it was certainly a story. It was a unique story in the marketplace, but I think that we're not the only ones. You know, a lot of other agencies, you know, WPP is out there, and Martin Sorrell's talking about horizontality, and you know, we're seeing a lot more bespoke groups, or bespoke teams being developed within agencies to be able to service clients. Pitchpalooza that happened last year, almost every single major global client, or even some of the major regional, were looking for the best of the best to come together to be able to deliver on the needs that they have. And they're very, very different needs than, you know, even 5 to 7 years ago in terms of what clients are looking for.
Well, it's funny because the best of the best, but razor thin margins, right? It's tough. It's a tough business.
It is, but you know,
business.
there are lots of different areas. You know, as we get into data and as we get into content production and as we get into those other areas, absolutely, media buying margins are razor thin, and I don't see those changing anytime soon. But there are other ways and other services that we can start to enable clients to get through a single contract, through a single relationship, that perhaps gives them some advantage because it streamlines the conversations, it simplifies the services, it simplifies the contracts, it makes their lives easier, and it brings everything into one group.
So then maybe some of those things are the things that agencies are getting right these days, or maybe the good ones? What are agencies getting right, the good ones?
I think that they understand the importance of data.
Talk more about that.
So I think
this is a complex and sometimes thorny subject.
It is a really thorny subject, and I think we've seen major acquisitions. I think we've seen agencies underwriting and financing startup companies. I think that just because you acquire a large data pool doesn't necessarily mean that you have competitive advantage that you can provide that client. I think it's really interesting that, you know, some agencies are buying ad networks, and as soon as you buy an ad network, yes, you have access to a lot of first-party data that's there, but also what comes along with that is the responsibility to monetize that network, because if that network isn't thriving and consumers aren't engaging in the properties in that network, then you are losing those cookies, right?
So how does the agency balance increasing desire on the part of marketers to own their own data, to control their own data, to manage the technologies that are used, to take advantage of their own data?
This is a really important, I think, discussion that's going on right now. So we believe very, very much in the value and the importance of a universal ID. We have to deduplicate all of the disparate, because all of the media owners and all of the major tech companies are building walled gardens. They all have their unique codes, and so we can ingest and we can collect all of that, but we need to make sense of that. We need to get down to a single truth, a single view of the consumer. So we now are able to start to do that. Clients, my belief is clients are never going to give their agency the keys to their CRM data or to their e-commerce data or all of their first-party data because they move agencies too frequently. But what's really important to us is that we have a point of view and we consult with them on picking the right DMP. Adobe is fantastic, but Adobe may not be right for a client that's just starting to get into this space. And Crux might be better for that client, or Turn might be better, or whatever it is. But we need to help consult them so that we have some skin in the game in terms of who they create. An agency, I think, very much as clients create their own data pools and start to deduplicate that and create their own universal IDs, there's only so many hand raisers. There's only so many people that are going to engage with their content, with their assets, and therefore there's a diminishing return. At some point, you can continue to build that universal ID of consumers that are engaging in your business, but at a certain point, you're just not going to reach a person, that may not be interested in engaging in the advertising or the assets of that brand. But you want to market to that consumer. So an agency, in developing their own data pool and creating their own universal ID, what data partnerships are they creating that complement what that client has already created so that we can actually then enhance that data?
Extension, expansion, enhancement.
That's exactly right.
Interesting. Complementary, not ownership, not entirely managing.
That's right.
But complementing.
That's right.
Interesting. We only have a couple minutes left. There's so much more to talk about.
Yes.
Okay, so as a person running an agency who itself is going through continuous improvement and probably some ongoing reinvention, as one is wont to do in a continuously changing world, what are your big strategic priorities? Here we are at the beginning of 2016. What are you focused on for Carat in North America?
I think there's a couple things. Talent. And I think I've been in so many conferences where people talk about talent. I think the most challenging thing for me personally is sometimes talent outgrows the agency, and sometimes the agency outgrows its talent. And that's the hardest thing.
That sounds euphemistic.
If you've got fantastic talent that helped you get to a certain point in the longevity or the lifetime of that agency, but somehow the pivot of the agency and the demands of the industry require us to continue to evolve, sometimes people just can't continue to come along on that ride. And that's the hardest thing, is to be able to identify that and be able to help those individuals. But it also is about making sure that we're bringing the right talent in, either through recruitment or through acquisition. So that's another focus for me, is as we think about, in the Dense VIEQUES network, not just within Carat, what are the right acquisitions for us to ensure that we're bringing the right capabilities in to effectively enable us to be 100% digital by 2020, which is our vision. And that doesn't mean we're going to be buying 100% digital media, but it means that Carat and the Dense VIEQUES network will be a 100% digitally native global network by 2020.